What's happening, CSTers? Happy New Year. Welcome to 2021. We are excited to be back talking soccer here in the Queen City. Glad you're with us. I am Subs. Well, you might think there is a lot to discuss, maybe not so much about others. If you think about what's happened the last few weeks with the Major League Soccer season, off season, and the roster additions and whatnot. We're going to talk about the new faces arriving in the Queen City. We're also going to be talking about some rumors about maybe some potential arrivals. And then a little bit later on in the show, we're going to be joined by Michael Allen from postamerica.com to talk about one of those new additions, Ronald Matarrita from New York City FC, arriving via trade. And we will also be joined by Ben Cork, the managing editor over at Once a Metro. It's going to be a very New York flavor tonight here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. If you're watching us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, we are very thankful you're back. We hope, again, that you had a happy and safe New Year. If you want to get in touch with us, you can over on Twitter at Cincy Soccer Talk. You can also email us, Cincinnati Soccer Talk, feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Man, I am out of practice. Can you tell? Let's welcome in my cast of characters for this week. I will start with Bryan Weigel. Bryan, Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year, pal. We're starting anew. Hopefully we won't have a third wooden spoon in 2021. Feeling optimistic to start the year, but we'll see how fast those can be dashed in the next week with signings or non-signings. So a lot of stuff happening here.
Absolutely. It wouldn't be a CST without your twin brother here. We welcome back to the show, Brad. Weigel.
I'm
Brad,
sure it could be.
Hey, you sit down over there, Stevie.
Stevie Sunshine.
No, I just echo what Bryan said. I was talking to my wife about this tonight, and she was kind of like, you doing a show already? Because we're about, I don't know, a little over 2 months till the season starts. But it's like I'm in a dangerous point right now. I've got hope. It's like we're seeing some players arrive. We're hearing our names speculative, some big names out there in the world of soccer. It's an interesting time. It's like, gosh, I know I'm just setting myself up to get hurt, and I don't want 2021 to be like 2020.
Yeah, I kind of got the same reaction too tonight from the missus and the kids. That it's Monday night. You don't do shows on Monday night. I know it's been a while, but yes, we do shows on Monday night. So yeah, it is kind of weird to get back into the swing of things here. But you're right. Hope it's where we're at right now, and so it's somewhat refreshing from an FCC perspective. So looking forward to getting your thoughts tonight, Brad. And of course, last but certainly not least, former Major League Soccer and FC Cincinnati midfielder Michael Lahoud joining us, the professional. Mike, Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year. Great to be back, refreshed, recharged. And I'm thinking about the season. There's an old saying in Tennessee, maybe Texas, my instincts telling me no, but my body's telling me yes when it comes to FCC this year. So I've got hope so far.
He's got hope. And he's sporting, for those of you watching us live or listening to the podcast, he is sporting an actual game-worn jersey. Tell us about the kit you're wearing.
This kit's special. I made my debut with this kit back in 2018. I just come from Miami, and I remember walking in the locker room playing in D11, so rival in the USL, and luckily was able to put on a show with the guys, and we came out victorious 3-2 and ended up getting the game-winning assist to my former college teammate Corbin Bone. So this is a very special jersey, and it reminds me of the start of something good that year with FC Cincinnati.
Absolutely. Well, looking forward to having you back on the show, Michael. Hope you and your family had a wonderful holiday season as well. So let's talk about the new additions, right? Over the past couple of weeks, we had the waiver draft, we had the stage 1 and stage 2 re-entry drafts. In the waiver draft, Brad, FC Cincinnati brings in Ben Mines. I don't know if that was necessarily a name that jumped off the page to us, but FC Cincinnati saw a lot in him, and they decided to bring him in, and he has signed, and so he will be an FC Cincinnati player this year.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, I had him on my list. I know Andrew Carlton was the popular choice. I think just because he was a known name, especially from his U17 national team days. But Ben Mines is actually, for my mind, an extremely valuable pick for FC Cincinnati. Number one, he's going to be a homegrown player, so he's going to be on the back end of the roster. He's a winger, which right now we need depth there. But the best part about it is he's a depth piece, but he can actually contribute, and I don't worry if we've got to put him out on the field. He's not going to be a Jimmy McLaughlin, type. Charity case is the wrong word, but essentially it is what it is. Ben Mines he's going to be able to be put out there probably off the bench right away, but he's going to be able to contribute for FC Cincinnati. And I'm excited to talk to Ben Quirk in a little bit and see, why the Red Bulls might have let him go and what he's seen or that he liked or maybe did not like. But honestly, I really think it's going to be an attractive piece for FC Cincinnati going forward.
Now, Brad, you did a lot of research for those reentry drafts, and I think a lot of FC Cincinnati fans were disappointed that we didn't pick up anybody in the reentry draft this year, including one Kelvin Leardom. He's a guy who's played nearly 90, 100 MLS matches. It could have been a rock on the right side and the right back spot there. What did you make of no moves there, with the exception of trading away, I guess, the round one spot?
Right. Well, as we're going to talk about right now, Andrew Gutman, he was selected by Atlanta. We traded the first pick. Obviously, Andrew Gutman was still opted into that draft, so he was able to be taken for a number of reasons. FC Cincinnati didn't believe that they were going to be able to resign him, or it's going to take too long. I talked to Gerard Nijkamp on an interview a couple weeks ago, and he was just basically saying, the Celtic situation, it wasn't going to resolve itself in the timely manner that FC Cincinnati needed. So I'm at least glad they got something for him, even though I would have liked to have seen Gutman. As far as passing in the reentry draft, what do I make of that? If you want me to be bluntly honest here, it doesn't make me feel good, because this was a mechanism that FC Cincinnati was able to go out and get a player essentially for free, no acquisition cost. But the teams need to know that player is going to sign for FC Cincinnati. So while we look on paper, we see Kelvin Leardom, FC Cincinnati needs a right back. He's high quality. He's an MLS starter. He's a high, impact player right off the bat. Why does an FC Cincinnati go out and get Leardom? Leardom's got to want to come to FC Cincinnati. And you know what? He probably has other offers out there. The gentleman, the guy who played right back for the Galaxy last year that I was high on, he's already signed overseas. I'm not sure what Leardom's going to do, but it does say, if I can take one thing out of the waiver draft or the reentry draft, is that I'm not so sure current MLS veterans want to come to Cincinnati.
When you hear that, Mike, what do you think?
I do agree with that, to be honest. I think if you're a veteran, and you're an MLS veteran in particular, you're looking at the work and the body of work that's been done so far, and it doesn't give you as much confidence. I mean, when you're in that position and you're an experienced player, you're on the phone and talking to guys who have played before, who have played the last couple of years, and guys always talk. And I think the one saving grace that could have been bait for guys and really to attract players, veteran players, which this team needs, is a new stadium. And none of the players have played in the new stadium yet. So I think in a year's time from now, depending on how the club does and the team does this coming year, I think that could be where we see reentry draft veteran players being attracted more to Cincinnati. But this year, more than any year that's happened, is the most important year in the club's history, because this is almost a do or die year.
So FC Cincinnati. Oh, go ahead, Brian. You want to say something?
Well, I would say that I think the quality MLS veterans, like you saw the AJ De La Garza signing somewhere tonight, that would have been a guy that would have been a great signing for FC Cincinnati. I guess really the only attractive part for a player to come into Cincinnati right now is the allure of playing time. And I'm going to skip ahead here, Nick, so I apologize. A guy like a Cody Cropper, who's a fringe starting goalkeeper in Major League Soccer, who has started, has a great pedigree abroad, and he sees the goalkeeping core of FC Cincinnati goes, yeah, this isn't a bunch of world beaters. I have a good preseason here. A thing breaks the right way, and he's the starter. So I think pretty much that's kind of your only shot in terms of, maybe alluring somebody like that.
Yeah. When you talk about alluring players and veteran players, FC Cincinnati hasn't shown itself to be a club that rewards MLS veterans. So there's been such a focus on international players, new international players who are new to the league coming in. So if you're a veteran and you take away the stadium, you want to play, and you want to know that you're the guy when you come in. You've built your resume, you've earned the right, if you will, because of your resume, to almost expect that if a team wants you and wants to bring you in or interested in you, you're going to play and play week in and week out. And the team hasn't shown that so far. I mean, Harris is probably the one guy. Kendall, obviously, arrivederci for now, was another guy. But outside of that, it was newcomers year in and year out. And, this will be telling whether the process and the road to success, is it going to be based on MLS veteran players or domestic players like we've been saying in the last year, or is it going to be more of the same of trying to get more foreign players to fit the puzzle and get this thing going?
We got an interesting question in the chat. This is from Jeremy Schrand. He wants to know, is Jaap Stam not a draw?
I think he is for international players. I think we can talk about it now. Ronald Matarrita from NYCFC, who's an international piece, very probably familiar with the Jaap Stam name. I think it is for those kind of guys, but I think for the young American player, the MLS vet, I think right now they're kind of FC Cincinnati. Ooh, touch burn hot.
Yeah, good point.
So let's talk about some of the other moves, shall we? FC Cincinnati did acquire another international spot in a trade with Nashville SC. They gave up $175,000 in GAM for this. We don't know what that roster spot is for. There are some talks, and again, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because I know the Super Draft is coming up. There are some players in that draft that are international players. I don't think that they're trading that international or that GAM to get that international spot for the Super Draft. At least I'm hoping not. But from a cap standpoint, Brad, where do we kind of stand now? I mean, you've been following the roster and the budgeting all off season. Where do things kind of stand right now for the Orange and Blue?
Sure, it's a great question. And we're going to talk about like I mentioned before, the Ronald Matarrita, FC Cincinnati sending a minimum of $500,000 in GAM spread out over 2 seasons. Could be, dependent on how well he does, could be up to $600,000 in GAM. So FC Cincinnati, they started this year with about $1.8 million in GAM. Well, you know what? A big chunk of that is taken up just in that one trade alone. And then you send more to Nashville. The roster space is starting to get somewhat tight. I think we do have some TAM, so I think we'll probably still see about 3 or 4 big high profile signings. What comes to mind would be a big number, a starting center back. You're probably on the TAM level, DP, number 10, and then you got a right back and maybe a backup left back, and I think that's probably going to be where FC Cincinnati ends up. We have the space to make those moves, and we maybe have some space to buy down Alan Cruz and Yuya Kubo possibly, but definitely is getting tight. I think we're starting to see how this roster is going to shape up, unless we see some unexpected departures, which it could happen. Jordan Eikamp on the call last week, he did not deny departures. He did basically stress Yuya Kubo is going to be here this year, but outside of that, I think we could see 1 or 2 players depart still.
We shall see. That it's called the silly season for a reason, right, gents? So we're going to talk about more roster moves a little bit later on in the show. But before we move on, it's that time in the show where we give a big shout out and thank you to our tremendous supporters. Without you, the show would not be possible. So thank you so much to Tim Bronson and Tom Rose, Matt Adamczyk, Mike Hudson, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Kathleen Francis, Matt Imholt, Matthew Long, Joe Coling, Tara Mullins, Riley Stephen Burke, and Melissa Bingle. Thank you so much for supporting us here at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. To learn more on how you can support the show, head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Well, as we mentioned, FC Cincinnati recently traded with New York City FC, some GAM to bring in left back Ronald Matarrita. And so we want to learn a little bit more about FC Cincinnati's newest left back. And so we are pleased to be joined by Michael Allen from PostAmerica.com. Michael, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being on with us. Tell us a little bit more about Ronald Matarrita.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me. I think you guys got a really, really good left back coming. We're really sad to lose him. He was a real club favorite, fan favorite. He's really good at going forward, and I think he'll fit your system really well. He's really good at a wing back position, like in a back five kind of situation. He's very good, attack minded. Can play left back. He can also play left midfield as well. We've used him there a couple different times in situations. He's a great guy. The only things I would be careful about is he has a tendency to be injured. Like when he is healthy, he is great. He's really on. He has a problem to, he's injury prone. He's not, I think there's only been like one full season that he's played all games for us. And my other thing that I would say is just a caution that I think it's more of a coincidence more than a trend, is that in big games, I think he may try to do too much and gets himself into some trouble sometimes. So that's been my experience with him, but I'm sad to see him go. I think he's a really, really good find for you guys, and I'm happy for him and happy for you guys that you have him, but we'll miss him.
Hey man, getting promoted to the big show tonight. Not just joining Boston and I for March to Match Day. You're with Nick Seuberling. Do you feel are you in awe right now?
I am. I feel special. I feel very special.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming back on. And as soon as this trade was announced, you DM me right away. Like, this is going to be great for you. Okay. But you mentioned injury prone. If he was so great, NYCFC is not going to let him go. So what do I need to be worried about? Is it just the injuries? Is it defense? Like, you mentioned he's going to be great going forward. What's some things what does he not excel in?
He's generally pretty solid at everything. If I had to choose, he's not as good of a defender as you may want, but I think the system you guys play, he's going to be fine in. And I think it's a system that we played him in several times, but he's, as far as like defensive minded, when we had Ben Sweat was the better defender. I think, in our team this year, Thorarenson is probably the better defender of the two left backs that we had. But what he lacks in the defense-minded stay home. He's not a left back that's going to stay home. He's going to get forward. He's going to cause problems with opposing defenses just by overloading sides and stuff like that. But he has to be encouraged to hustle back and get back on defense. That's the only really Achilles heel he has. And as far as like us getting rid of him, I think we got rid of him because we're trying to make some cap space ourselves. I think I heard you guys talking about it earlier. I think that the reason we got rid of him is because he's in the last year of his contract, and we just weren't going to pay him what we needed to pay him to get him to stay here. So I think it's good for him. It's good for you guys. Hopefully it's good for us. We'll see if the gamble works, but we're sad to lose him. I think everybody's sad to lose him.
Mike, I don't know if you've watched a lot of FC Cincinnati games, but defense is not our strong suit. So he's going to fit right in, it sounds like.
I think he'll be great with you guys. I really do. I've watched you guys plays, obviously, when we played you. I watched you a little bit down in Orlando, and I think he's gonna fit into the system that you guys play. And he's solid. He's solid on defense. I'm not saying he's bad. I think it's it's gonna be sad to see him playing for you guys. But I'll be rooting for him. I root for you guys secretly. I got some contacts in Cincinnati. You're like my second team, so
it's easy to root for us because we're never going to beat you.
Yeah, we're not a threat.
Yeah, I have a question for you. With FC Cincinnati and so much transition year in and year out in the last couple of years, they've been in real need of a leader, of someone who's a character guy. Is Matarrita a character guy? Is he in big moments in big games? Is he that guy who wants to step up?
Yeah, he is. He's very passionate on the field. really is going to give you everything he's got when he's out there. I mentioned it before. Sometimes he gives too much. We had a Toronto playoff game 2 years ago where he committed a really bad foul in the box and gave us a penalty kick, and we lost the game, and that's why we got kicked out of the playoffs. He's done that a couple times in big games. He is a guy who's going to step up, but he can also, again, I think that passion could lead to a little too enthusiastic of tackles at certain moments. He sometimes might make a overly enthusiastic play that he probably should have thought about a little more. But he's really great. He's right now he's the longest running player on our roster, continuously, and he was that for a reason. Like, they love him here, and we love him here, and I'm sad to miss him.
So we had a left back, Andrew Gutman, who's now, I guess, going to Atlanta. And he was famous for his crosses to nowhere and his inability to really create when he gets into the final third. You said Matarrita is good at going forward. Is he a guy that is going to work, one touch to the forward or the 10 and they play the ball back to him and he gets creative with it? Or is he a guy that's going to try to stay on that far sideline and cross the ball in? And then follow up to that is, overall, what would you kind of grade his tenure as a player at NYC?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. He's a guy who's going to do all of that and more. I've seen him; he can make some great crosses. He took corners for us for a while, corner kicks. He's great at sending balls in, but he's also a guy who is very, very good with the dribble and good with his feet. He can take guys on one-on-one. He can take it into the center of the pitch if he needs to. He is a give and go guy with the number 10. I've seen him do that before as well. He's really going to give you some offense. And some attacking prowess. And that's why he's dangerous, is that he is a guy that can do all of that and is capable of doing all that. So you can't just cut down the crosses. You have to, cut down the crosses and on his in routes. He's a really good offensive-minded back. And from what I've seen of watching you guys play, that seems to be the way that Stam wants to play with you guys. So I think he'll fit really in really well. As far as his grading on a 10-year, I would say I'd give him I'd give him a B+ overall if I was giving him a grade. Only counting him down because he hasn't played many full seasons. He's been injured a lot of the time, and he has occasionally made a bad defensive play here or there. But he's a solid player, really solid player, way above average, and certainly one of the better left backs I think in MLS.
All right, Michael, we appreciate you being on. We appreciate you giving us a scouting report on FC Cincinnati's newest left back. If folks want to check out your work, where can they find you at?
They can find me on Twitter at MSA_Allen. That's where I am. And I'm also on prostamerica.com is where I write for. And you can also check me out on a podcast. If anybody is a crossover NYCFC fan, I'm also a host of a podcast called Blue City Radio. So I'm co-host of that. So check us out there. And thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a lot of fun.
Appreciate it. As always, we'll have you back again soon, Michael. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care.
That's Michael Allen from prostamerica.com joining us. He's a beat writer covering New York City FC, and we're really glad to have him on to talk a little bit about FC Cincinnati's newest left back. When the trade was announced, Brad, I think we all had that big sticker shock, right? $500K in GAM. Then we find out after the fact that it's spread out over 2 years, which is much, much better from a move standpoint. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm glad as far as, being a budget guy, that they were able to split that up over 2 years. But, Michael, he made some good points on why NYCFC wanted to part with him. And, they needed that GAM to help rebuild their roster, which really is kind of been depleted. And they're kind of suffering, I would say, with some investment from the Manchester City ownership. But, he made a good point here, in which we didn't announce, but I believe FC Cincinnati did sign Matarrita to a contract extension. So he's not just going to be here for 1 year and so on. He will be here for a while. But I really want to see how this guy builds, because he was brought into New York City, I want to say 4 years ago. And they were all thinking, you know what? 2 years and this guy's going to Dortmund, or 2 years and this guy's going to some, big Eredivisie club or something. It was kind of like, it was thinking of a stepping stone. So he's got quality. It's just that he hasn't been healthy. So at 26, he still has some sell-on value for FC Cincinnati. I could see him, doing well this season, maybe next season, and then you know what? Then he might be looking for that next big contract, and FC Cincinnati moves him on and gets an asset. I like the move. It's a piece that still retains value. It's not a Siem de Jong move where the guy's on the back end of his career. It's not a Medellin move. Again, I think it's more of a forward-focused move with a player that, again, towards the back end of his deal will still hold value for the club.
And Bryan, I'm assuming you think this is an upgrade from where we were previously at left back.
Yeah, I think he's dynamic, man. Been a Matarrita fan ever since he got to New York in 2016. He was always a guy that you just look at and you see, okay, we need a player like this to get to the next level. We can't just have an average, left back pushing up the field. All the really quality teams have good wing backs, and it's a really good building block in Major League Soccer to have a guy his quality. To me, he's a top 3-4 left back in this league. Again, if he can stay healthy. Downside, he's going to feature for Costa Rica in quite a bit of matches over the next a year and a half.
If they have them.
Yeah, well, I think they will. And that's going to eat into his club time. So I think Gerard Nykamp's going to have his hands full getting a quality backup left back behind him. But yeah, he's a guy that is just going to make us more dynamic going forward, and might free up if Kubo's on the left, or even if Locadia is on the left, allow them to cut inside to kind of overload the center backs, and he can provide that width on the left. So I'm very excited to see what he can do there.
You hear that scouting report, Mike, and the fact he doesn't get back and defend as well as we would maybe like to. Does that concern you at all?
No, it doesn't. I think the thing with this current roster and what we saw from last year was we needed more players who were willing to bomb forward and take a risk, shoot, do something. I agree. Gutman wasn't it. Gutman was an average player. And we talk about those crosses that were hitting the clouds and coming down sometimes, or maybe hitting the Skyline Chili over on the north side of town. He's a guy that's got quality. I've also always been a huge fan of his, and he plays well when he has another winger or another attacker on his side who's dynamic as well. I think of Rodney Wallace when he was at NYCFC. They partnered really well, and you get the best out of him, not just having him run up and down. You have to give him the ball as well. And he's a guy that's going to look to serve, and he can also create his own shots and chances. And this team needs more dynamic players that can come from deeper behind the field and create stuff out of nowhere, rather than just 3 players up top, or everyone pinning hopes on Locadia or Kubo trying to make wizardry moves to come up with a goal. So I really like him coming to this team.
Think of this. Think of Medellin with the ball deep in midfield. Where did he have to go last year? Up top to Locadia. Now people can't just double and triple team. They can't have all these center backs that just sit on Locadia's right and left shoulder. They've got to now account for guys like Barrial. Got to account for Matarrita going up there. Other players that we might be bringing in. So I can see how we said it all last year. These puzzle pieces did not fit. I think this one does, and now this is going to give Locadia a foot or two more of space. So now maybe he makes those shots instead of barely misses. I just think it gives FC Cincinnati options. It gives them quality. And as our great friend Jeff Tebbets just wrote, has FC Cincinnati ever had a legit boss of a left back? Matarrita might already be the pinnacle before playing game. I completely agree. He's going to be.
I think a point to add to that, when you talk about having an attacking left back who the likes of which this club hasn't seen yet, it puts more onus on the middle of the field. It's going to put more onus on transition with Harris, which is something that we've seen is not his strong suit. Sometimes, Harris looks like he's in a wheelchair coming back on transition. And other times Harris looks like, he's reclaimed his younger years. And so with an attacking left back like that, man, transition. That is what wins and loses games in the MLS. When FC Cincinnati are really good in transition, especially in the middle of the park, they're a completely different team. And when they're poor in transition in the middle of the park, they get exposed. So that's another area to be addressed as the season goes on this year.
We got this in the chat as well from Charlie Ferguson. He says, I would argue we've never had a left back that can defend.
Sure we have. Tyler Pollock. Come on,
that's a bit harsh. Tyler Pollock. That's a good point. Back in our USL heydays.
Hero of hell is real.
So yes, Matarrita arriving from New York City FC. Again, the GAM split over 2 years, so 250 in 2021 GAM and 250K in 2022 GAM for the Costa Rican international. So very excited about that. We're going to be joined by Ben Cork from Once a Metro here in just a moment. Just a reminder, we record the show on Monday nights live, 9:00 right here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Make sure you get subscribed to the podcast. That way you don't miss a single episode of CST. Of course, March to Match Day will be back again this year. And of course, make sure you check out Talking Tactics with Coach Goff. Brad Goff, our resident tactical expert, is going to break it down for you each and every week. So make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss a single episode of our podcasts here in 2021. We're excited to be joined on the line now by Ben Cork, managing editor over at onceametro.com. Ben, welcome to CST. How are you?
Great. How about you guys?
We are doing fantastic. Thanks so much for being on with us. Let's talk a little bit about Ben Mines, shall we? Fill us in. What should FC Cincinnati fans expect from the newest edition?
Well, I imagine Cincinnati or any fans around MLS will have somewhat of an idea of what a Red Bull player, particularly a Red Bull Academy product, is kind of like, and that sort of applies to Ben Mines. He is a very direct forward player, kind of a wide player. Can play a little bit with both feet, but more of a right-footed guy. But yeah, like I kind of started off with, definitely a direct kind of player, is constantly on the run, constantly trying to move into space. The main issues that held him back, beyond just kind of injuries and bad luck, were just some kind of technical issues that he had kind of in his, more towards his younger years. It seemed to clean up as he got older and in the few appearances that he made this year, but just getting a little bit lost with the ball at his feet, kind of getting a little bit too indecisive, and would kind of get stripped sometimes, which kind of happens with younger attacking players before they've gained confidence. But he's definitely got a lot of tools that could still be put to use. He's still only 20 years old, so should be an exciting player for you guys to watch earlier this year.
Yeah. Now, Ben, thanks for coming on. I saw this signing and I was like, you know what? It's going to make complete sense. FC Cincinnati went to New York. I felt like 8 weekends in a row, played in Red Bull Stadium. They got to take a Red Bull player this offseason. And then they took Matarrita from New York. So what a shocker, right in the Big Apple. Mines. 3 years ago, he was, I want to say, like USL 20 under 20 top 10 player.
Exactly. Yeah.
He was rated, at 17, he was signed as homegrown. He's got a lot of talent. Why did the Red Bulls let him go? Like, were you expecting this to happen, or?
It was not. I wouldn't say it was expected. People weren't necessarily shocked, but not expected. I guess kind of that sort of gray area. He, like I touched on a second ago, he had definitely some bad luck. He obviously, like you touched on, came on the scene with the USL team when he was still in high school in Connecticut. And in the middle of the playoffs, when the Red Bulls 2 reserve team won the USL title in 2017, 2016. I'm sorry, I'm screwing that up. But he made his debut with the Twos regardless in 2016 when he was still only 16 years old. And it's, scored a couple of goals and just, showed enough that it almost made too much sense to not give him a contract with the first team. And early on, he scored a goal in his debut in MLS against Portland when he was kind of a rotation player when the team was playing in Champions League. But then after that, sort of disappeared when he was still sort of a younger player, and it made sense. And then, was playing in the reserves and picked up what ended up being a pretty bad collarbone injury that held him out for a while during a key development period when he was about 18, 19 years old. And then by the time he came back and was fit again, the team was sort of different than it had. The first team for Red Bulls was somewhat different than it had been when he left it. Chris Armas was now the manager instead of Jesse March. And, Armas was a little bit more risk averse, both naturally and because results were a little more, stressful during the time when Mines came back to fitness. So less chance for him to get minutes, and just generally, like I said, bad luck that sort of derailed what initially seemed to be a very charmed early part of his career.
With the up and down nature of this last year for New York Red Bull, do you see him as a player who can be an impact player, or whether it's coming off the bench or starting? Do you think with a clean slate and fresh start, do you think he can be a player who takes the next step and make an impact with FC Cincinnati?
I think so. I think if he's in a team that can give him a chance, or that is willing to give him a chance and get some consistent minutes, I think he, even in the small amount of minutes that he got with Red Bulls this year, he was very impressive to a lot of people. I mean, we're always over here in New York kind of very happy to see young local players do well, but him especially, people were very excited to see what he was offering in the MLS's back tournament. And then, like I said, after that, when results got a little tighter, there was less room for him to get minutes, and we didn't see as much of him, but he looked a lot sharper, a lot more, like I mentioned earlier, had improved some of the decisiveness factors that had plagued him when he was younger. And I think, that if they're willing to give him a consistent run of minutes to learn and get, kind of in the flow of things, he can still be a very productive player. Like I said, still only 20 years old.
You're saying he maybe lacks some decisiveness. What is the one thing where Ben needs to improve to get on the field? What is it? Hitting the weight room? Is it just being better with the ball, making the quality runs? Where does he legit need to improve to be a MLS 18 guy every week?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the weight room, because one of the things, like I was saying, when he got some more minutes this season, that people noticed was that he did look a little bit, stronger and a little more robust physically, and like he had been, working on that side of his game a little bit. But in that respect, he didn't seem to lose any speed or any of the quickness that he had before. So that's a good sign. If I had to say one area where he has to improve, it would be, the decisiveness is getting better, but also just generally having that end product, being able to get a ball over the first defender if he's going to cross it. And then also, he showed this earlier in his career at the second division level, but being able to get into the box and having the confidence to, run into space and get goals, because he does have that ability. He does have that skill set that he can strike the ball and ghost into space and score. So basically, just those end products, just, having a cross at the end of his runs out wide, and, having the willingness to go into the box and finish opportunities that he sees there.
So with these guys that are taken in this waiver draft, it's a crapshoot. You don't know where their career's headed. It could be Andrew Carlton and going back to the USL, or it could be Ben here. What do you think is his career trajectory? Would you say he's kind of like on that Derek Etienne trajectory, where he's going to fight to battle to get into that 18 every week, and maybe given the opportunity, succeed, or do you think he's Brian White, Tom Barlow kind of guy?
I think he's a more upside than a Tom Barlow, Brian White guy, because obviously he came out and came into the professional game at a younger age, and has more reps at a younger age, and just generally you would imagine is more refined and tactically aware, and just ahead of the curve on that in more ways than a typical kind of MLS draft player, like you mentioned, what you expect to see. So like I said, there's a lot of upside that you guys should be excited to see with him. I mean, there's he's a great guy. I mean, personally, great kid. He's pretty active on social media, and is pretty active in kind of like video game circles and stuff like that, and entertaining with that. So he's got a good head on his shoulders, and seems to have a lot of the tools to seize whatever opportunity he's given, and hopefully that happens for him there. I think Etienne might be a good comparison. I don't know if he's necessarily, Etienne had a little bit more professional experience experience when he went over to Columbus. He had a little bit longer stretch of form with us, but Mines definitely, when he first was coming through the Red Bull system, was viewed in kind of the same level, the same sort of possibility as Etienne, as a player who had a future professional career. So definitely a lot of upside you guys should be watching for.
Don't take too much credit for Etienne, man. We had him here for a good 3 or 4 matches.
That's
Groomed him
true.
for Columbus.
That's true. Yeah, he learned everything he knew from Ron Jans, I guess. Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah, quickly moving on. Oh, we started the evening in one side of New York. We're ending on another side here with the Red Bull. Ben, a lot been going on with the Red Bull kind of in transition as well. How are Red Bull fans feeling right now heading into the 2021 year?
Well, it's been a little bit of a quiet off season, which is a little bit of a running joke with Red Bulls fans, but we're expecting some signings to come in soon, but at the same time, there wasn't a whole lot of roster turnover that a lot of people were expecting at the end of the year. A lot of guys got their options renewed. It looks like the big story that's sort of shaking around right now is that it looks like Kaku might be getting shopped around and might be, if not getting shopped around, looking to make a move on his own with his agents. So that's kind of the main, the big roster, situation that we're monitoring right now. But overall, just kind of continuing to wait and see with Gerhard Struber, the new manager, and then the second full year of Kevin Thelwell, the new sporting director, and just kind of building a new structure here, and hoping if there's not that many signings right now, that they're confident they'll be able to hit the ground running with it in March, but we'll see.
We shall see what happens. Ben, if folks want to check out your work over at Once a Metro, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Corquinho, spelled with the Portuguese H, and on onceametro.com, the SB Nation site for New York Red Bulls. Looking forward to the season.
We appreciate you being on. I'm sure we'll have you back on March to Match Day.
Yeah, buddy.
FC Cincinnati gets ready to take on the Red Bulls, whether in Cincinnati or in New York / New Jersey. Thanks so much, Ben.
Yeah,
Happy New
thanks,
Year.
guys.
That's Ben Cork joining us here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Good to get a scouting report on 2 of FC Cincinnati's newest players, both with Ben Mines and Ronald Matarrita. A little New York flavor here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Ben Mines, look, the Red Bull Academy is known for churning out talent, right? I mean, they've done it consistently. And so the fact that, FC Cincinnati has brought in a homegrown player from the Red Bull Academy, you would think that somewhat bodes well, Brad.
Yeah, I was a big fan of this signing, because if you're FC Cincinnati, you need to get players like Ben Mines who aren't going to be on the senior roster, so the 20 spots that count towards the cap. He's a homegrown, so he's not going to count for the cap for a couple more years. So when we have an academy that's not yet churning out those types of players, we need players like Ben Mines. So honestly, Ben Mines, he's going to be like, I would say, the 20th to 22nd player on the team as far as like skill wise in my mind. But if you think about that, if he was on this team last year, he would have played a lot of minutes just with all the different injuries and transactions that FC Cincinnati had. So if and the other thing too is like with being a homegrown, now he allows us to put some players like Asad Abdul Salam or Ben Lunt on the senior roster. So those guys aren't going to count as much, because we're going to get production off the back end of the roster. And then that means we can actually spend a couple $100,000 more on players in the top of our roster, which means we are going to bring more talent to this team. So I love the move. I love that NICAMP starting to get more familiar with the roster mechanisms of this league. But, 20 years old, there's still a lot to there's still many pages to be turned in Mines' career, and I'm looking forward to read them.
Are you saying we're going to sign a 10, Brad?
It's not 2020 anymore, man. Hell yeah, it's 2021. Hell yes, we're doing this.
We're going positive tonight.
If we don't sign a number 10 after all of the different interviews of NICAMP and Birding saying we're going to go out, get a decision maker, a difference maker, number 10, he's going to lose everybody. So I don't think it's something we need to be worried about, but just looking forward to see.
When you saw mine selected, Brian, what was your initial thoughts?
Thank God it wasn't Andrew Carlton.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was blunt. No, I was excited because this is a kid who honestly shouldn't have been in this mechanism. I think he would probably be a part of almost every team going forward. They have a surplus of riches there in New York, and they have another Ben Mines coming up, and another year behind him, and that's just the luxury of their academy system that we just don't have yet. So having that homegrown mechanism on our roster is wonderful for us. I can't wait till we keep churning out more Ben Mines. So hopefully we can catch lightning in a bottle here, and he can be with us for 5 years and be the next Aronson. But the kid's gonna have to work hard to get on this roster, especially with the potential U22s internationals that we're going to be bringing in. He's got to fight versus Boreal, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
If I can liken him to one situation on this FC Cincinnati team right now, it's Zico Bailey. Okay,
yeah.
Except I think Mines is a year and a half ahead of Bailey as far as talent level, but they both need to build up strength. I think FC Cincinnati and Bailey, they might have a right back of the future if he can add 20 pounds of muscle. You look at a guy we're going to talk about in a little bit, DeAndre Yedlin, and then DeAndre Yedlin when he put on the muscle. Holy moly. So I think if you get Mines who in a physical league, if he can just get more muscle and not be pushed off the ball, and then continue to be put out there, put in position to succeed and prove himself, I think it's such a low risk, high reward move.
All right, I got to ask the pro. He's been there and done that, Mike. What do you make of the move to bring in Mines?
I like this move. To build a healthy roster, you need every bucket tapped into. You need your international players that are going to be your impact players. You need MLS veterans that know the league, that have had success, and you need young players that can, when called on, they can make an impact. And Ben Mines, he's had experience of being successful in the league, and injuries and things curtailed him a bit, but he's a guy that strikes me as a character guy. You don't come back from a collarbone injury and manage to play games. That says something about the type of guy he is and the type of player they're getting. And this team needs young players to get a chance. And with all the international tournaments and stuff coming up, just this year is such another unique year. He's a guy that, if you're Stom, throw him out there. If some of the veteran guys aren't performing, throw a guy out there. A guy that I think, he's the godfather of coaching here. One of them in the MLS is Bruce Arena. The first year they made the MLS Cup, the first year they won the MLS Cup in 2011 under him, he did something that everyone was shocked. He played young guys. There were injuries happening to the old guys, and some of the old guys, they weren't performing as well. And so he put Mikey Stevens, Tristan Bowen out there, and these guys performed. Bazio Husidic, who I came in the league with, and he earned their trust, and they earned his trust. And the team now knew that they didn't have to play Beckham week in and week out, which obviously Beckham hasn't walked through the door of FC Cincinnati yet. But if you're thinking of a Locadia, if you're thinking of some of your Kubos, who if they're out of form, then you can bring in a Ben Mines, bring in the young guy, give young guys a chance. I believe in young players, so I like this move.
Yeah, I agree. I think a good way to explain it is that if Kubo or some of the other guys out wide go down and we need to start Ben Mines, I'm not worried about starting Ben Mines for 2 or 3 matches and there being that big of a drop off that say maybe I would some of the other players we've had in the past. Or I brought him up a little bit before, but we got to start Zico Bailey 5 games in a row. I'm going to be worried. If it's Ben Mines, I'm not going to be as worried. Will the impact be there? No, but I do think this guy's got some quality. And again, cap-wise, he's such a fit.
I knew you'd bring up the cap, but that's kind of your thing, Brad.
I love it.
But
Ken Hecker and I, dude, it's just
knocking it out of the park as always.
They need a HGTV of this for us.
Yes.
Nobody else will watch it, but Ken and I will. So
we'll definitely watch. So as we begin to wrap up towards the end of our show tonight, lots to discuss as we head into the preseason, right? For those of you who don't know, the Major League Soccer owners recently decided to invoke force majeure, and you're probably wondering what that is. Basically, it forces according to published reports, the force majeure clause specifically authorizes Major League Soccer to terminate the collective bargaining agreement with 30 days notice if an event or condition makes it impossible for the league to perform its obligations under the CBA, frustrates the underlying purpose of the CBA, or makes the CBA economically impracticable, i.e. the pandemic, right, gents? So what does this mean going forward, Brian? I mean, are we going to have a season? Are we going to have a delay in the opening of the season because of this?
Oh my God, the millions dollar question. I sure hope we're going to have a season. I can't imagine the owners would want to lose more and more and hurt themselves. But and I'm sure Michael's going to touch on this, is just what damage are they going to do in the long run of the league by invoking this?
That's your cue, Mike. I think Brian's teeing you right up.
I think there's a lot of damage that's going to do. The biggest damage it's going to do if they invoke this is trust with the players. First and foremost, this is a business, and I get that from an ownership standpoint, and it will be looked at forever as a business. And there's the old saying, it's never personal in business. Well, it becomes personal from the player standpoint when you already took pay cuts and you're putting your health at risk to ensure that the investment of the entities that you're in and the show is still on the road and going. So I understand that business is business, and the league lost nearly $1 billion in revenue last year, I think, from one report I was reading, and that's a lot of money. However, from the players, I mean, your families, just what you're putting on the line week in and week out to just get through the season, stress that they've never seen before. I think this is going to be really detrimental if they, decide to have a force majeure.
The thing that gets me mad, Michael, is that you're seeing all these reports now about, like, Ohio State had a report that just came out this week that athletes who've tested positive have heart issues, and now you're tapping into all these different things where, like, are you gonna deny your players health coverage and their families health coverage for that time? And there's so many things that that just break my heart in this whole thing. And I really would wish that, and I implore the ownership and the management and the players to come out and just kind of tell us what's going on. Tell us, what we can do to help, and where you guys are actually, where the FOs and the ownership are really trying to steer this, just besides, saving money. And I get they lost, $300 million in gate revenues and sponsorships and all those things. But, when you're at first and foremost, sports are a toy. They're not an investment. Sports are a toy. You're going to lose money on toys sometimes. So let's just put the league in the right position to succeed. And I'm just frustrated with them, trying to save nickels and dimes over this, without giving the fans and the players, real information on why things are happening.
Yeah, I think when you talk about, what is the motive behind it, one of the motives I could see happening is from the last moment where we almost had a force majeure closure, the real intent was to get players to take a pay cut. And I think this move or this announcement or pending announcement, I think what will come of it is the players will have to take another pay cut. And realistically, the owners players can't afford to not play, but owners cannot afford to have a season. If they think they can, that's just not smart. And it's in everyone's best interest to come to an agreement. But I think that's where ownership is really trying to go, is to get players to take an additional payment cut to limit some of their losses.
If I can step back and look at the 30,000-foot view of this, I'm very interested to see not necessarily just the relationship between, we always talk about the owners and the players. I want to see what's driving this decision, and then see the difference in the ownership between the Arthur Banks and the Carl Lindners of the world, and then the owners that still treat their Major League Soccer clubs running on nickel and dime budgets. That's really what I want to see here, is which ownership group holds the decision making at the league level and to see which direction this league wants to go. Is it going to go and continue in the Arthur Blank and the Lindner world where they do want to spend money? And I put Lindner on that stage with all this money he spent on the stadium. Or is it going to be nickel and dime, the Hunts, some of the more budget conscious clubs that don't fill out their DP spots? I want to see how these two groups decide which way the league's going to go. And then how are they going to treat the players? Because honestly, right now, we all see it. They treat American domestic players like trash. They do. They pay them pennies on the dollar. It's not fair. I really want to see the out of this, the ownership, the blanks of the world drive changes, unite and drive changes that are actually going to benefit the customers. Maybe reshape the roster budget structures even more to help out everyday players instead of just, let's give this international guy $750,000, even though he really should only earn $350,000, but we can use TAM and then pay Nick Hagelin $169K. That's trash. So that's really what I want to see out of this. I want to see the owners who want to spend money and improve this league actually use this moment to do so, and then maybe use this as a pivotal moment to maybe even use it as a chance to push out those owners who want to continue to suppress wages, continue to hurt the American domestic player, and then use this moment as a way to grow the league. So I'm interested to see that power struggle, and then and see who's going to win and see what direction the league's going to take.
I think this is the moment where we slow clap, because that was, as a former player, that really speaks to me. So thank you for saying that, and I'll start the slow clap.
So we'll see what happens between ownership and the union. Hopefully they can come together and get an agreement and work everything out so that we can have a season, because it would be so Cincinnati if you build a brand new stadium and no soccer is played in it until the fall when high school teams are filling it up. I hope that's not the case. I really do. There are some other offseason important dates coming up. Coming up on January 21st, we've got the MLS Super Draft. FC Cincinnati will be selecting second in the draft this year, behind Austin, who will get the first pick. There are some international talents, some interesting college players that are on that radar of folks that FC Cincinnati should be looking at. We'll be previewing that a little bit later on our website, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. So make sure you check that out. And then sometime here in mid to late January, preseason should be kicking off. Whether or not it will remains to be seen. We shall see. And then in early March, much like last year, the season, quote unquote, should be starting. We don't know what that looks like at the moment. Even if there was an agreement between these two sides, with everything going on pandemic wise, is it smart to start the season in March? You need fans in the seats, and I know that's what the league is certainly hoping for. So we shall see. Let's talk some rumors, shall we, gents?
Yes.
Wrap up. This is Brian. Can you tell Brian was excited to talk about rumors there? Start us off, Brian.
Oh, where do I want to start off here? There's so many juicy rumors. I guess it would be fair to discuss the Papu Gomez rumor. If you have been living under a rock for the past 3 weeks, FC Cincinnati has been linked with a legit number 10, Papu Gomez at Atalanta, 32-year-old who has fallen out with his coach. I believe Gerard Nijkamp had issued a bid to Atlanta to buy his rights, but it'll remains to be seen if he will Papu would actually want to come here, or there's been rumors of Roma as well as Inter Milan. So we'll see there. But Michael, what would happen if a Papu came into this league?
I'd start drinking bourbon.
Hey,
I'm not a bourbon guy either. I love Papu. When I was in Miami, they came out with the song "Baile como Papu," which means dance like Papu. I love how he plays. He has vision. I mean, that would just revolutionize this team, and it would show intent and ambition. So whatever it takes to get a deal like this done, if it happens, I would be so stoked. So I'm all for Papu. Give me some more Papu.
Be very nice, low percentage chance, but my goodness, what it could be.
I think you're supposed to drink Argentinian red wine with that, right?
Man, I'm double fisting. Yeah,
Well,
keep it local and then do the Argentinian red wine.
I mean, normally if I see like 32 and like kind of aging, I'm like, but this guy, he would be transformative for this club.
Mm-hmm.
He would in this league. I mean, I can't say I watched a ton of Atalanta soccer before this. I'm not gonna lie. Like Tottenham didn't play him. So, but watching this guy's videos, he's magic on the ball. I mean, this is going to be like a David Villa signing where he would just take over this club. He'd be one of the faces of this league. I know a lot of our friends out there have talked about it. It's still such a low percentage chance, but like it's the hope that kills you guys.
It is.
Another
so funny.
Gaston.
It's more likely going to be another Gaston or Gotza.
Yeah.
But, I doubt that we said, hey, we're Cincinnati. We'll give you $15 million, and they probably went, oh, that's okay. Yeah, I'll call you back. It's like when that sales guy calls and you're like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta eat dinner. I'll call you back.
Yeah, it's funny when I found out about this rumor and I passed it along. I really wish that I could have been recording the conversation Mike and I were having when I told him that we have been linked with Papu. Like I think I heard the phone drop. Like that's how remarkable that this rumor is.
Man. So I've watched a lot of Atalanta, and forget Gotza. Gotza a couple of years ago would have been magic. He is dynamic when he needs to be. I mean, he's the type of player that would send MLS into a different stratosphere because he's a player that's in form now and becoming a world star. And he's doing it at an age that's older than what most world stars become, And I mean, he's a leader, he's a captain, so he brings leadership presence. And what's familiar to him, he played for a team that was up and coming, that were, proving the naysayers wrong, and brought him to the Champions League and made some history with them. And they were a couple minutes away from knocking out one of the favorites. And, a little bit of mismanagement there by Gasparini led to them getting knocked out. So hopefully a little bit of mismanagement by Gasparini again leads to Papu coming to FC Cincinnati. But if not, man, 2020 was the year of maybe not having as much hope. 2021, I'm all for hope. So if Papu gives us all hope at night, bring on the Papu.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got next, Bri?
Well, to put a bow tie on Papu is if Carl Lindner opened up his pocketbook and delivered that, I think there's not a clearer sign that he's in this for the long haul than that. Our next actually came out today, a report from Globe Esporte. Felipe Schmidt and Rafael Zarco reported that FC Cincinnati has issued a second bid to Flamenco for 20-year-old forward Lincoln, who's was a U20 stud back a couple years ago for Flamenco. Was again propped up in some higher stratospheres, like being the next Lewandowski. He's been compared to Kai Havertz. I mean, he's been compared to all these giants in the game right now, but he had a rough 2020. He didn't, stack up to a lot of the expectations that were presented on him. And I think his kind of star has fallen there. I actually did speak to some guys down at Território MLS in Brazil, and they basically kind of said that he's a guy that is stuck behind some giants down there at Gabriel Barbosa, as well as Pedro, and he hasn't been able to break through. He was kind of propped up as the 16-year-old wonder kid and has never been given the opportunities and has never kind of taken that stardom path and really excelled. So I think his time there at the club, the supporters want him gone. They're tired of seeing this kid, and it just shocks me that they want a 20-year-old to be gone. In the MLS, 25-year-old's a young guy, so this is a whole new world for us. So
yeah, we're drafting players of his age in 2 more years.
Yeah.
So he's a junior in college.
Yeah, so it's amazing. I think this guy's a forward. From what those guys down there at Toyota's MLS say, is that he's a little one-footed, or sorry, he's heavily one-footed on his right foot, but as a striker, okay, I'm okay with that. But I'm interested to see where he kind of stacks up transfer fee wise as well as salary wise. Is he going to be a young DP? He's in that prime age for that. Or is he maybe going to sneak into this new Major League Soccer U22 rule? I can't see that. I just think he's going to be a pretty expensive player. A guy kind of compared him to is maybe a Brian Rodriguez at LAFC, and he's a youth DP. So I think that again, this would be another big sign for FC Cincinnati to bring in a guy who can maybe, repolish his star and sell him on in a couple of years to a big club, kind of like what Atlanta did.
Can he score from inside the 6?
Not recently, but we'll see. No, I think what they said is when given the chance in some of the youth international matches, he was able to score. He just really was never given the chance on a sustained run out at Flamenco.
I think the key, Subes, is this player is the type of player that fits the profile of Major League Soccer going forward.
Sure.
Okay?
Where they want them to look like.
Where they want them to go for it. It's not the 35-year-old DPs. It's, the Lincolns from Brazil that you get a little bit more reasonable, okay? He does well for 2 or 3 more years and you sell him to Italy. And the league makes money, the club makes money, and you just keep doing that. Now, is it going to work every year? No, but if he can be a percentage of, like a Diego Rossi or some of these other young players tearing it up across the league, that's going to benefit the club. Now, I asked Gerard Nijkamp 2 weeks ago about the U22 rule, and he failed. He didn't want to commit. I think the rule is still very much up in the air as far as what's a transfer fee going to be allowed to fall under this category and whatnot, kind of what Brian just elaborated on. But this is where Major League Soccer needs to go. You up the talent level. He's not going to cost much on an annual salary. It's going to be on that transfer fee. You know what? He does well a couple of years from now. You know what? They sell him on. I think it's a positive move. And, he can't do any worse than our current DPs. So
Well,
got to take a shot at somebody, man.
The one thing that I get nervous about with these guys is that international players lately bringing them in and putting them in star high, needing them to succeed and perform well. Those guys have been taken on average a year or 2 to really start performing, and throwing a guy who's low on confidence into this roster where he's not necessarily have a great supporting cast, that makes me a little nervous, but we'll see what happens. I think you have to bring in a 10 to, put him in a place to succeed if he does indeed coming to FC Cincinnati.
We've seen the opposite as well, right? I mean, Pitti came in as the South American Player of the Year and came in and did nothing in Atlanta.
Well, no, you're proving my point. Is it takes guys coming in some time.
Nijkamp this week, or last week, he said, Kubo, he's going to be here. We fully expect him to take off this year. He's acclimated to the league, to the style of play, to the travel, to the opponents. Just being here, it's going to help him. But you know what? I also kind of like this Lincoln move because he's not going to be like that final piece that helps LAFC over the mountain, or to the mountaintop. He's not going to have necessarily that pressure, which I want players to have that pressure, but we're just not here yet. So, I do like it. I'm really interested to see what this role signifies for Jurgen Lacadia's future moving forward.
Well, I think we've all kind of hinted at it, especially when we saw him on the wing last year. You shook your head, last fall, Brian, when he was playing out on the wing. You don't think it makes sense budget-wise, but that's probably his best suited position.
Well, Vela's a good right winger. I don't know, man. I think he didn't really perform very well on the left. I think that's overall is his best position with a good striker, and maybe having a 10 helps. But spending that money, I want a goal every other game, and I'm not sure having him out in the left wing if he's going to be a 25 goal scorer in this league.
Yeah, Lacadia, whether you put him left wing, right wing, up in the stands with the guy serving fries. He's got to score goals. He's just got to score goals. Like we're I feel like at the end of the day, one of the things that I was frustrated about last year was there were so many excuses made for him. And I get it. You have to protect your DP. He's new. There's injuries, etc. But I tell you what, there have been DPs who came into this league and performed, and they didn't play in the Premier League. And if you're getting paid the big bucks, you have to perform. And in the years this year, with a new stadium and with more ambition being shown, it'll be a first full season for Barriel. There'll be more of a supporting cast. And this is a new roster that's evolving. It's getting there slowly but surely. If Jurgen Locadia cannot hit Lake Michigan from the sandy shores from 2 yards out again, we got to have a different conversation. That is one of the fundamental laws of the game. If you don't perform, next.
Yeah.
I was going to say the most painful thing about FC Cincinnati the last 2 years is we've gotten more production from roster spots 7 through 20 than we have 1 through 6.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me up at night. I'm sure that's what keeps up night camp and birding.
I'm curious which Locadia we get. Is it the Jurgen Locadia we saw at Red Bull Arena in the season opener, who came on as a sub and looked the part? Or are we going to get the one who is it a mental thing, right? Because he was doing some good things in that game against Portland. He scored the goal. Then then he missed the sitter.
Yeah, I was saying missed the sitter.
And then he missed the penalty. And then the rails went off. So I don't know.
He strikes me as
what are we going to see?
He strikes me as a guy who he almost needs a challenge. He needs something. Him coming off the bench, that was a challenge, because now I actually have to prove myself. I think sometimes when you're given all that money and you come into a club who is desperate for you to be the main man and all the offensive hopes are pinned and put in your hands, I'm not sure how serious at times he took the level at MLS, and he's got something to prove. Fans are now asking questions, and believe it or not, I actually think he's going to respond, because strikers, one of the things they hate is people on shows, former players like me, talking smack. So I'm talking smack, Jurgen, to get you motivated. I'm your hype man. 2021. Prove me wrong.
And they really hate redheads as pale as me, who only played goalie, talking smack about them.
I was his
And
backup.
imagine what they say about Brian.
I'm
You
just
can build your shin guard on straight.
What's next?
Couldn't put a shin guard on straight. What a guy. He's my twin, jerk.
Brian's one shining athletic moment was when he got his glasses broken setting balls for the Ohio University women's volleyball team.
You son of a...
This is the greatest he's ever gotten.
Wow. Interesting.
3 championship rings, pal. All right. Son of a bee. I'm slashing your tires at work tomorrow. DeAndre Yedlin, my main man, the guy who motivated me to start covering any soccer. Iva Skolarsip, SBI, love him. He reported that DeAndre Yedlin has been given a guaranteed TAM offer. I'm guessing near the max TAM level, which is about $1.5 million. And he singled out 4 clubs in his report: Columbus, FC Cincinnati, Miami, and Atlanta. So my question is, A, would we want DeAndre Yedlin? And B, can we fit him into the cap?
This is where you come in, Brad.
Okay. Do I want him? Yes. I mean, he fits the profile of a player that FC Cincinnati needs, a speedy right back who can get up the wings. And we've seen how he's defended the Premier League. He would have no problems fitting in and being the best right back in Major League Soccer. Okay. Does he fit into the budget? Major League Soccer and players like DeAndre Yedlin do not fit anymore. They don't. He's going to want close to a DP deal. He's going to want a max budget deal for a TAM, which is like $1.625 million. Okay. that means you're going to have to spend over $1 million in TAM just on him alone. FC Cincinnati, each team's got $1.5 million-ish at TAM, give or take a couple $100,000. Well, we're already spending that on Maduyanin, Makocho, Vanderwerf. If we want to buy down Kubo, we want to buy down Cruz. Those are likely mechanisms that we're going to have to use to buy those guys down and replace them with DP. So while I love DeAndre Yedlin rekindled my love of soccer when he was playing right back at the Seattle Sounders before the U.S. men's national team. That being said, I've got to give it a hard pass if I'm the general manager of this club. He fits what they want him to do. If he wants to come in on like 800, 900,000, go right ahead. 1.6 million plus acquisition cost because he's on the allocation list still. I'm giving it a hard pass. Go find somebody else, make an international trade. We've got probably 2 or 3 international spots available. If it's 3, you got your 10, you got your CB, you got your right back. Start the season.
You know what that means? It means that tomorrow we're going to get that email saying that he's joining FC Cincinnati.
I will buy the first authentic jersey with his name on it. So the first time the first time I met John Harkes, I didn't even have an FC Cincinnati jersey at the time. It was down at the Moorline Lager House. I don't think they even sent the jerseys out yet. So I was like, I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna put my men's national team jersey. It was kind of like that fadey blue with the white up top, and I had Yedlin on the back. And I think I'm walking up the stairs from the escalator at the banks, and all of a sudden here, DeAndre, and it's John Harkes.
Fair enough.
First time I met John Harkes.
All right.
Thank you, DeAndre Yedlin. So I am a big-time fan.
Move heaven and earth. Bring DeAndre Yedlin here. Put his face on every poster around that damn West End stadium. Name the stadium after him. I don't care. Bring DeAndre Yedlin into FC Cincinnati. Show your fan base, show your city, show your country, show your league that you are serious. Stop passing on guys who are too expensive or too whatever, don't fit. Write Harrison Maduyanin a $650,000 check. Say bye, I love you. Give him a kiss on the cheek. Bring DeAndre Yedlin in here. Put his ass on the right. Run him next to Barreal. Score some darn goals and jump into the contention. Stop being the joke of Major League Soccer. This is the signing that makes us less of a joke. Please do it. Now, I know Nashville has a damn press conference Thursday. They're probably going to announce them. But God, give me 2 days and make me feel happy.
Nashville wouldn't know what the hell to do with DeAndre Yedlin. They don't get the ball across half field.
Oh, they love counterattacking. He'd be perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, he would actually fit Nashville as well. Now, I'm with you. This is a deal that I would be shocked if FC Cincinnati get to the finish line, because it's just not what the club has shown is their MO to spend that type of money. But man, as much as he would fit Nashville's style of playing, he would be perfect. Imagining him on one side, Matarrita on the other. Who would most teams are scrambling for attacking players, but in the system that FC Cincinnati has, a lot of their attack came from the wingbacks. Man Crush Monday, Joe Zhao. He would probably have to be moved aside for double Man Crush Mondays, Yedlin and Matarrita. So I'm with you guys. I'm for it. I just don't think it's going to happen. But here's to hoping and hoping some more.
So, Subes, I don't know if you want to kill the subject or not, but if not, the question is, what are you going to give up for him? You going to give up that TAM center back? Probably going to have to. Are you going to have to move Cruz? You're going to have to move Kubo, move one of those guys. Might have to. I do love Brian's opinion of buying out Maduyanin. You're allowed one player. That's a good one to do it. I don't see it, even though I would love it. I don't see it. If he does come, Michael, I will get hair down to here for it, man. We'll braid it up like DeAndre. Like what we'll do is like love red and then we'll reach the bottoms.
That's awesome.
I hate it. I'll love it.
Yeah,
well, I can give
Mike.
you my hairstylist's phone number in Cincinnati, so she'll get you done up.
You thought that Jurgen Locadia had a fun reception at CVG. Yeah, I think we would have one hell of a party. Social distance, 6 feet away.
There'd be nobody there.
I wouldn't.
Away.
I'd risk it.
I'd risk it too.
Josh in the chat says, I feel like we should move
Mm.
Cruz regardless if it's for Yedlin or someone else.
Healthy Cruz or an overweight, unfit Cruz?
He looks like he's got some size to him on Instagram. I mean, he looks like he's working out and all that, but I don't know, man. He looks kind of bulky, but I don't know.
Every time my wife got pregnant, I put on the LBs.
See, the thing is, like last year was such a tough year because you had Cruz, who was hurt the whole season. I think Cruz can ball. You had Vanderwerf, who was hurt the whole year. And you know what? Like when you want to bring in Yedlin, here's a legitimate alternative to be able to pay for a player like Yedlin. Go into the season with Medullinen, Pedersen, and Hagelin as your 3 center backs, and then draft the kid from Washington, or I honestly actually like the kid from Virginia. He's like a Norwegian American kid.
Mm-hmm.
He's 6'5". They say he's better than Kessler, and Kessler's like going to be invited to the national team camp. They're talking about even selling him in a couple of years because he's really good. Go into the season with those 4 guys. There's Yedlin. And
I love everything about that except the Medullinen at center back. I think that would sink faster.
Pedersen,
Hagelin?
Yeah,
you said Medullinen. You meant Hagelin.
You know what I meant? Hagelin, Vanderwerf, Pedersen.
People just spit their coffee out in their cars.
Nah, man, we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes. Come on.
It's been a while.
Yeah, they're definitely on like the at-home drive by now.
All right. So those are the rumors. We'll see what happens. I think 2 of them is most likely not going to happen. Hopefully we'll know a little bit more about Lincoln in the next coming days if it's a done deal or if this is actually happening. Of course, if something does happen, we'll be sure to announce it over at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Man, I can't believe we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes. Feels like we never stopped podcasting over the last few weeks. We just got right back on that bike and we're going. So let's begin to wrap things up because I do want people to get through this show sometime this week. Let's do some final thoughts. Bri, you got any?
Oh, I don't know if you're going to cover this or not.
Should we do it? Should we do it?
Yeah, just do segment 6 on the rundown. It'll take us a couple minutes. 5 minutes ain't gonna kill these people.
All right, here we go. Jimmy McLaughlin plays for Louisville City FC now.
Boo! He's dead to me. Joking.
That one's a rough one, right? We love Jimmy. I think the fans all love Jimmy. I think we certainly understand the decision to go to Louisville. Seems a little weird seeing him in purple and white. Not gonna lie. Still was hard for me to see Corbin Bone kissing the Louisville City badge a year ago. That was rough. I think we are all happy for Jimmy, right? I mean, he's getting a chance to play, and he's playing for. We can say it, right? They're the premier club in USL. I mean,
very good club.
So he's going to get an opportunity to play and shine. He hasn't played the last couple of years for FC Cincinnati, but I think we can root for him to succeed, yet still hate Louisville. And the folks who tell me that Louisville's not a rival, you're out of your freaking mind. Louisville will always, always, always be a rival of FC Cincinnati, no matter what division they're in. If you ask a Newcastle fan right now who their biggest rival is, they're going to say Sunderland, and they're 2 divisions lower than them. Mm-hmm. So this is how rivalries work around the world. Quit thinking like America and the other sports. This is your rival will always be a rival. The Crew will always be a rival. Louisville City will always be a rival. That's my rant. I saw so many people on social media. Oh, who cares about Louisville? They're not a rival. Yes, they are. They will always be a rival.
We got to quit waiting for an hour and 23 minutes for you to give an opinion, Tubes.
Hey, I'm just trying to drive the bus, Brad.
I think, you know what we really have to ask the question of is how good is Andrew Wiedemann of an agent if he places Jimmy McLaughlin in Louisville? I mean, come on, Weeda, what are you doing? You want your client to be set up for success long term.
Look, I think knowing Jimmy, knowing the guys who went there, it's getting the old USL band back together. I know the coaches at Louisville. I know the assistant, Danny Cruz. Everyone's friends. We're all friends and knew each other when I was in Philadelphia. And from a player standpoint, you go. I mean, you need to play. However, there's a cost when you go to the rivals. I agree with Subes. When you go to the rivals, you can't come back home in the same manner. And Jimmy will always be an icon with FC Cincinnati. It does not take away anything from what he's done. But, Phoenix is also a good club in the USL.
Indy.
Phoenix is actually, Indy's a good club.
Lost their stadium.
Tampa is also a good club in the USL.
True.
So, look, I'm torn because I played with Jimmy at different clubs. I think one thing I can say from a former professional to a current professional is wish him the best of luck, personally. And I hope he gets back to playing at the level that we've seen him play. And I think that's all I can say, because I can't say anything other than that with this shirt on. And that's how I really feel. So.
Yes, you can. What's your funniest Jimmy moment that you're allowed to share live on air to thousands of listeners?
Oh, man. Jimmy moment. So we won a game in 2018, and I remember Jimmy and Matt Boehner came in after the game, and Voldemort was talking. He should not be named that year. And I don't remember what Voldemort said, but all I remember is he was about to close out his speech, and Jimmy and Boehner just start singing that song, if you be my bodyguard, and they just start going, nah, 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 da, 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 da. And I just lost it. And everyone just started cheering, because I don't think we wanted to hear what Voldemort had to say anymore. So that was that was when I knew Jimmy was an icon.
You mean Palin Smotch?
You can call me Al.
You can call me Al.
Wow.
Yeah, that was. I still walk around the house going da 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 da.
Too funny.
And he wanted to bring 9 of you to the MLS team. I didn't get it.
Yeah, that's a FC Cincinnati After Dark. We'll talk.
Well, I got to ask Mike. Louisville is always going to be a rival, right? I mean,
absolutely.
When you saw some of that banter or some of that interaction on social media, like were you losing your mind like I was?
Well, with Jimmy, it's more so than with Corbin, and that was a shock, for everyone. And Corbin has a house in Cincinnati. He built his wife's from Cincinnati. His kids were born in Cincinnati. I think with Jimmy, it's a little bit harder pill to swallow, because Louisville is the arch rivals of FC Cincinnati, no matter what division. It is, like you said, Sunderland and Newcastle. Leeds United have just gotten back to the Premier League, and the entire Leeds Nation hates Manchester United, which I'm not a Leeds fan because of that. That's another podcast. And this is the part of soccer. We need more stories like this, actually. This is part of American soccer culture that we need more of if we're going to grow as a soccer country. There is controversy like this that happens, and it's a house divided. It's a fan base divided, and you never want to see an iconic player in club history go to the rivals. But like I said, there's a cost for what you do and don't do. So I wish Jimmy all the best. And it'll be very interesting what type of reception he will get when he comes back to his former home. I hope he gets a round of applause. I know he'll probably get a round of applause. But it's always a contentious moment when you make that decision and you come back to your former home. So I'm looking forward to that moment for him, because I think he deserves a round of applause for what he's contributed to this club.
I see Brian over there fuming. I don't think he's happy at the moment. Oh, we can hear you, but very, very faintly.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Are you so angry?
Tell us about it.
My microphone the bed.
Well, we didn't hear that part, but okay. All right. Well,
sleep, Brian.
I didn't say the whole word.
No, man.
I know he didn't. I know he
me on that.
I know he didn't say it, and I appreciate you censoring yourself, Bri.
Were you guys making fun of me when you saw me just like throwing stuff around my office?
No, we didn't say a word about you doing that.
Oh, well, good for you professionals.
Not as much as that shiny forehead, man. That's okay.
At times when you have 3 kids and you lose hair.
Look at Michael's
you.
eyes alike.
I see.
Twins, man. It's
Hear
happening
hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. I'm
Them damn LEDs, man.
So do you have a thought, Brian, Jimmy?
Love you, Jimmy. You know, I don't know what supermarket they have in Louisville. Keep the watermelons out of the cart. You're a taken man. Good for you, buddy. No, seriously, you know, I hope he succeeds. I hope they lose in the playoffs. But other than that, you know, make some money, kid.
Fair enough. I think that's the perfect way to wrap things up. Usually we do final thoughts, but we've been doing this for 90 minutes.
I got one.
You got a final thought?
I've got a final thought.
Extra time with Brad Weigel.
Yes, extra time with Brad. It's not too crazy. But I just want to give a hat tip to one of my favorite guests all time on CST, Larry Sunderland. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I shared this on Twitter. I saved the best for the show, though. I didn't even put it on Twitter. Okay. I just wanted to let y'all know how well our academy is doing right now. So Top Drawer Soccer and I want to say it's Soccer Masters camps. They come out with a top 25 club team ranking list for like U13, 14, 15 on through 18. Now, we don't have an 18 team. Just want to give you a little bit of this, though. We'll start off U14's 24th, U15's 19th. Then we jump up U13 team, 9th in the nation. U16 team, which I mentioned on social media today, 3rd in the nation. But you want to have some hope for FC Cincinnati early? The U17 team is the number 1 U17 team club in the nation at the end of 2020. That is tremendous progress for a club that is in its infancy right now, battling COVID and still growing, still producing, still putting up tremendous numbers. So congratulations to Larry Sunderland. Congratulations to FC Cincinnati in their academy. You know what? Maybe the homegrown list may not be too far ahead on the horizon. You know, I know when Larry was with us in the fall, you know, I think it was around when his son was announced. I think it might have been.
I think it was just before it, but yeah.
Yeah. But he was not hesitant to say that he thought that they had a couple coming down the pipe. So I'm really interested to see what happens here. But just awesome news to what do you call them? The young foozers?
The young foozers.
Yes. I know you and Coach are on the foozer bandwagon. I'm not there yet. I mean, that's just. But you know what? I'll take the number 1 and the number 3 rankings for 2 of the 3 oldest age groups. Yeah. And you know what, as we maybe come up with this MLS next team in the next season or 2, you know, I think the future is bright for the young academy.
The Ben Mines, what age did he sign his homegrown contract?
17.
So
he was 17.
He was 16 for the USL team. I think he played for the USLs originally as an amateur, and then signed a homegrown deal at 17, and then tore up the USL for the first 3 or 4 months, and he's just been blistered with injuries.
So you're saying there's maybe some kids on that U17 squad that we might be hearing some news about?
Well, Angus Bowie, I think. Angus Bowie?
Yeah, Bowie or something like that. He's right up there.
I don't want to put too much pressure on these kids. I know it's still early, but
I'm just saying that to have that this early is tremendous. It's tremendous. So I'm glad for all of our listeners who stuck around for the last hour and a half. Our numbers are huge right now.
Yeah, they are.
I'm looking at them live. That's awesome. So I'm glad I could get that in there. And then, you know, maybe we'll have the next Michael Lahoud running around here, just tearing up players in midfield and, you know, doing big things. Big things going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, this has been fun. Like I said, we've been off for a few weeks, so we get the batteries recharged, and now we're going to get back into the swing of things here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We're covering this squad. Hopefully, we have some news in the next few weeks with negotiations between union and ownership, because we want to have a season. We want to see fans in West End Stadium, which, by the way, the pitch is in. Whew, that stadium looks banging at the moment. I love but right around 6 o'clock when I'm getting done with work, I log into the webcam and I see all the lights on. I just imagine myself in the West End Stadium watching the orange and blue. So exciting times. My thanks this week to Ben Cork from Once a Metro and Michael Allen from Prost America to join us for joining us this week to talk about Ronald Matarrita and Ben Mines joining FC Cincinnati. Reminder, go get subscribed so you don't miss an episode of CST. We're live every Monday night at 9 o'clock here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Get subscribed so you don't miss a single episode of the show. For Bryan Weigel, from Michael Lahoud, I almost said I'm Brad Weigel, but you're Brad Weigel, Brad. I'm Subes, reminding you to watch your tackles, and we will see you all next week.